All right, glad to have you back. The federal government says it has no plans to increase taxes or add to the burdens of the country's tax-paying citizens. The chairman, Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policy and Tax Reforms, Mr. Taiwo Edele, said this while reacting to unconfirmed reports of government's plan to increase taxes. The committee's primary objective is, as mandated by the president, is to enhance revenue collection efficiency, ensure transparent reporting, and promote the effective and efficient utilization of taxes and other revenues to boost citizens, of course, tax morale amongst other tax ahead of the giving to this very committee. Joining me to understand this via Zoom is the president of the International Center for Tax Research, also a former chairman of Ogun State Internal Revenue Service, Mrs. Morenike Ababintin Ashaye. Thank you so much. It's good to have you on the program.
So much, Tolu. It's nice being with you.
Yes, let's start this discussion by understanding Nigeria's tax system at the moment. What sort of system are we running that everyone is saying, well, actually, we need a reform, where are we and where should we be at this time?
Well, tax system actually consists of three major issues. You talk about tax policy, which brings about tax law, and also the ultimate tax administration. At the moment, I think we are running a unitary system of tax system. Because why I say that is that the federal government has taken total control of all tax policies, the tax laws, and even virtually, they want to take over the tax administration, because I recall that there was an initiative by the World Bank and IMF wanting to bring together all the tax authorities and making the Federal Inland Revenue Service a general controller or general commissioner, and made the State Internal Revenue Chairman commissioners. But this was stopped, by the governors then, because they found that what the IMF and the World Bank was proposing was against federalism, because in the Constitution, the state government were given duties, the local government were given duties, and the essence of collecting taxation is to enable different governments to perform their functions to the societies. So today, as it is, the National Assembly is not helping the matter as far as taxation is concerned, because when we have exclusive legislative list, the National Assembly is for the whole nation. So there is no reason why the National Assembly should allow the federal government to think that taxation legislation belongs to it, or taxation practice and administration belongs to it. No. So we are having a problem that we are running under unitary system while we are supposed to be running under federalism. This is a problem we have at the moment. And unfortunately, for taxation, language is a barrier. The government is probably governing less than 10% of the population, because those who are supposed to contribute towards taxation don't even understand. They don't understand the system. They don't even understand what government is supposed to do with their resources. And when tax officials run around closing their shops, doing whatever, giving them best of judgment assessment, they cannot just understand. So this language barrier is what I'm thinking that the tax reform committee will break down. We must be able to have our tax system in such a way that can understand their tax system and appreciate the need to contribute towards taxation.
It's a good way to start our conversation, ma. And now that Mr. Taiwo Edele has a one-year mandate, and of course the focus around governance, revenue generation, I'm going to ask you as a professional tax person, what positives do you see in this?
Well, I think it's been a long time we've been advocating for tax reform, because what is happening in the country at the moment is unfair. The tax system is unfair to the states who actually have the residents in, and yet the federal government will be collecting more than the states. It's very unfair. And there are a lot of issues with the tax reform. Like I've said, we want federalism. Actually, taxation can bring about federalism in the country, which is essential. You know, the way that the tax revenue is being allocated and distributed is wrong, because every state has responsibility. And taxation is supposed to motivate states to work very hard. But when you sit down and you are expecting allocation, it does not augur well for those who are traveling miles away to look for investors, to put certain structures in their own states to ensure that their states have investments. So there are a lot of things that are wrong. Also, we have an issue of the country having Ministry of Finance actually overseeing the Federal Inland Revenue Service of collection of revenue resources. This has to stop. The person who is a Minister for Finance may not know the details, may not know anything about taxation, and it is wrong. And that is why we've been having problems. I'm advocating that we must have, in this tax reform, a ministry for taxation, so that we have an expert. Taxation is not just about collection of revenue. No, it's more than that. It's a lot of thinking about policies, thinking about having research on our tax laws, having research on our tax administration. So we cannot have a Minister of Finance dictating what has to be done, or telling the chairman of Federal Inland Revenue his duties, or even the commissioner for finance not knowing anything about taxation. And even if they know anything about taxation, they don't have the in-depth knowledge. So we want a situation that tax practitioners will have a ministry where we can have a minister for taxation, commissioner for taxation, quite separate and distinct from the Ministry of Finance. I'm also looking forward that this tax reform will bring about sectorial taxation. We need to understand our people. We need to understand our economic system. Also, I'm looking forward that this tax reform will reduce the relationship or the control that the British system or the British government have over our tax legislation, also have over our tax practice and the tax administration, because the Buhari administration has actually put us in the mud as far as taxation is concerned. Everything the British government, IMF, World Bank, they will have to be dictating. Imagine in 2004, World Bank and IMF, they want Federal Inland Revenue Service to have total control, a unitary system in the country, and they wanted to put that in the constitution so that it would be difficult to change, which was wrong. You see, what I want Nigerians to understand is that IMF, World Bank, they are all institutions for the continuation of neo-colonialism. So they are not there to help us. If you were talking about the exchange rate, how can you find that? How can you imagine that IMF, World Bank, they have been with us, they have been devaluing our currency, and they still want to devalue it? It's a shame that no government has been able to stop IMF and World Bank. And I'm hoping that this Tinubu administration will stop IMF and World Bank. I want the Tinubu administration to please give IMF and World Bank a leave of absence of 5 years. Let us do things our own way. Let us use our experts. There's no reason why they should be controlling us. We are no longer a colony of the British.
Tax to GDP ratio is looking good. For a long time, we used to be around 6% to 7%. But the last figures from the FRS shows that we're doing about 10 point, at least above 10%. Seems better than what it used to be. African countries like South Africa, Kenya are doing better than us. But in your thoughts, what are the quick wins for this? Because even the IMF and the World Bank, they keep saying that there's a need for that tax reform. What is prompting all of this?
Well, you cannot blame people for saying that the ratio of our tax returns to GDP is very low, because they know the amount of money that individuals, hold in their possession. So how this money that are in the possession of individuals have escaped taxation is what nobody can actually understand, which means that there's something wrong with our tax system. Recently, you had the National Assembly talking about already in your account because you are going on leave so that you can enjoy your leave. There's so many instances that the tax system is not catching up to. You find the situation that people will have money that may not be associated with any business, and we cannot tax them. We cannot tax these monies. So it is important that we look inwards. We look inwards. If the United States can say that 5 Nigerians can actually pay the debts of Nigeria, it speaks volume of how our tax system has not matched up with taxing individuals and even companies. So I cannot blame anybody for saying that our ratio is very, but we have also to think about the fact that if we have a tax policy, if we have a tax policy whereby we are not encouraging local investment, we are always looking for foreign investments. And these foreign investors can go at any time. They can come in, use our own resources, and move their money outside the country. So we want a situation that the tax reform will ensure that there is monetary policy that can assist local investors to grow our economy, because they are not going anywhere. If you look at what foreign investors brought in, and you look at the amount they have taken out, you'll be shocked that they are just playing games with us. So it is time for us to actually motivate the local investors with monetary policies and enabling environment for us to be able to do what is necessary for us to grow our tax ratio.
Finally, what will you tell government with regards to revenue generation? It seems to be very key at this time, and all hands on deck, because everyone knows that government needs revenue, looking away from borrowing from all ends. What would you say to government?
Well, that's an excellent question, Tolu. You see, when government is looking towards generation of revenue, the question is, who are the people to pay these taxes? From whom are you going to get this revenue? You find a situation we just give Federal Inland Revenue Service, you must produce 15 trillion naira. From where? From where is FRS going to produce that? If the government does not give the enabling environment for the economy to grow, for the people who you are supposed to provide infrastructure to, you do not do that. You are not encouraging local investors. Even foreign investors, you are driving them away. You are now telling FRS, you must produce 16 trillion or 20 trillion. The governors will tell state internal revenues, this is the amount I want from you. They are not magicians. So government must make sure that taxation cannot work without monetary policy. Taxation cannot work without enabling environment. You cannot ask Nigerian businessmen to be producing, and then you close borders at will, and then you tax maybe the importing material. You tax it so high. How do you want to get the money? They would rather go and buy and sell. You see, and we all know what GDP is all about. So it's important that government must understand that for revenue generation, you must know the people you want to tax. You must know the products or the services or whatever government or that is available in the country that has to be taxed. You cannot discourage people by giving laws or by giving regulations that will make them, discouraged. Or if you look, for example, if you look at the telecommunication, that they say they should be paying certain taxes for what? They are not manufacturing anything. All they are providing is service. Why should you now be asking them to be paying excise? And Nigeria will be paying a lot if we have to depend on outside sources.
All right, then. I must thank you so much, President, International Center for Tax Research, and also the former chairman of Ogun State Internal Revenue Service, Mrs. Morenike Babintina Shayi. Thank you so much. Do enjoy the rest of your day.